And that brings up Philip Nakamura. Nakamura having something of a breakout season, batting .370 with 29 runs batted in. Here's Von Neumann with the windup. And Nakamura gets all of that one, sailing leisurely into the picnic area behind the center field wall. That's a long, lazy home run. The Cadillac Cars are up 1-0.
That's the placid sound of a home run on Northwoods Baseball Sleep Radio. Welcome to Sandlot Social Club. I'm Adam, your host. I play baseball with the Cap City Cobras in Austin, Texas. In the dreamy world of Northwoods baseball, the teams have names like Big Rapids Timbers and Toma Tigers. The players sport monikers like Sharky Bush, Rick Stetson, and Lincoln Smathers. And the game broadcasts even include fake advertisements for imaginary businesses between innings. The creative duo behind this impressive and calming world, Mr. King and producer Phil, were kind enough to join me for a chat about their creative process and what appeals to them about baseball for an episode of Sandlot Recommends. Well, thank you both for coming and talking with me. I just first wanted to say that I'm a huge fan of the show, and I listen to it during all sorts of activities, cleaning my house, mowing the lawn. Sometimes I'm just throwing a baseball, and I really wanted to talk to you about it. And so I'm glad you're here.
Thank you for having us.
I appreciate your time. You know, as much as you're willing to share about the creative process, I know, there may be some things you want to kind of keep to yourselves, just keep the mystery in the box, so to speak. But I am really curious to hear about the origin story. Like, how did you form this project? What were those first sort of steps into this Northwoods baseball world?
A few years ago, I want to say it was over 3 years now, I had the idea to do a sleep podcast, which was not going to be all baseball. Baseball was going to be a part of it, but it was going to be like a PBS sort of NPR kind of channel with strange like radio dramas that are super boring.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
And somehow I decided that it would be just as good to just do an entire full-length baseball game. And so I think it was like 3 years ago that I emailed Phil and like, hey, I'm doing this weird thing. If you have any ideas for an ad. And he sent I believe it was Big Tom's Gelato.
Shoe repair and gelato.
As it now plays. Like that was like this. I was like, I have to do this now because this is like the perfect tone for this project.
If I remember correctly, you were in the woods somewhere, and maybe I don't know what you were doing in the woods, but somehow you had Wi-Fi or a phone signal or something and listened to it.
That's true. I was in the woods of northern Michigan.
Is northern Michigan the geographic inspiration for Northwoods? It feels like that area a little bit.
Absolutely, yeah. Because it's an area I sort of know, but I'm only there like once a year, and it seems kind of romantic and David Lynchian. I like it up there. It's very strange.
Yeah, Are you talking about the UP?
It's not all the way up to the UP, just below.
That's too far.
The Traverse City area.
How do y'all collaborate?
It's all long distance.
It is all long distance, and I basically give Phil a wide berth. I feel like there's only been 2 of his ads that haven't run, and because I found them creepy or not sleep-inducing enough.
Yeah, I don't know. See, there's a narrow bandwidth that King works with in this world, and I like that challenge, and also it's kind of liberating because other projects I work on or whatever, I have Final Cut. So I have to find out, am I going too far here or not? But, he makes those decisions. So that's kind of liberating. One of the ones that probably didn't get put on was, I thought it would be funny to try to do a monster truck ad in this world, in a sleep radio ad. And I don't know, maybe that's not possible, but maybe I'll try again. That was one of the rejected ones.
It's true. Wow. Look at this guy. Bitter. He's harboring this.
No, I'm not bitter. I'm not bitter.
That makes me think of the tone when there are home runs in the game, right? You know, it's like this moment you typically associate with a cacophony of noise at the stadium and the lights going off and fireworks.
Sure.
In this world, it's a lazy fly ball. And I love that. I like the challenge of a monster truck ad. It seems like the home run of the ad world in Northwoods.
Oh, I'll try again.
That's true. Okay.
I'll try again. I think the next one is going to be a funeral home.
And so, Mr. King, you do the baseball story part of it. Am I correct in sort of assuming that it's an ad baseball split?
That is, so far, that is true.
So far, that's true. Yeah.
In general, King's done an ad or two as well. But
did you ever play any of those old baseball games like with the cards, Stratomatic? There's something about the characters in Northwoods that remind me of kind of the Stratomatic baseball world or the baseball worlds of some classic video games and such, where you have these imaginary players and names that I played as a kid. Is that something that you were drawing from, or did you just kind of build this world of players and teams just out of the air?
Yeah, actually, my wife now names most of the players. I figured if I was going to do this project, I needed players and they needed names and, try to make them a little interesting.
Oh, yeah. I mean, I love Sharky Bush, Flipper Cortez.
Sharky Bush is named after one of my friend's dogs.
Okay. So they can come from all sorts of different places. Do the players have backstories at all in your mind? Or
I mean, occasionally they will have a backstory, or Phil, as far as writing a backstory, has written quite a backstory for Giovanni Gasparo, the catcher for the Cadillac Cars, I believe.
So basically, King created the world and I'm just helping populate it. I guess that's the way to look at it. But some of the characters or the names, I tried to imagine what they would sound like and what would they sell or do a public service announcement about. We kind of go back and forth. We feed off each other, even though we're not in the same room. It seems like it's a really fun collaboration, and we're definitely feeding off each other and kind of building on things together. So that's kind of cool. It's sort of, I don't know, organic, I guess you could say.
Not so linear or like one after the other. If one of you makes something that's a catalyst for the other and you want to run with it, you run with it. This may not be something that you know, but are there characters that are sort of the best clutch hitter in the league that you know of? You're like, we know that that's really Flipper, or there's a character that you would want to have, on the bump pitching in a big game.
Absolutely. So like I just finished today, just hours ago, episode 6, and episode 6 features the 2 best pitchers in this league, who are Hiroki Nomo, who is actually like a star in Japan, but there's a weird bylaw in this league that they have to get a trade with Japan every year. It's a whole thing. It's convoluted. And then there's a pitcher named Rick Stetson for the Baraboo Bombers. Those are the guys in the whole league. They're the only really good pitchers. Those 2.
Yeah,
they're stars for sure.
Interesting.
If you're talking about the ads and who we go to, but as far as the ads go, Ed Uncle Hat is probably one of the go-tos.
You mentioned the 2 pitchers coming together as a kind of event in this space, in this world. Are there other plans that you have for Northwoods, whether it's, I don't know, I know you put t-shirts on the site. You might be doing some hats or baseball cards or something like that. Have you thought of any stuff like that?
Hats are coming shortly. Baseball cards I would love to do. Phil and I are going to do a few special episodes for the Patreon fans, like a celebrity golf tournament, and possibly a chess tournament.
Oh wow!
Our chess tournament. Well, we'll see.
And maybe a holiday special.
A holiday special, possibly.
I'm looking forward to the possibilities of that. Maybe have the charcuterie dancers show up on that one.
Right.
Yeah.
Malone comes set, and here's the 1-2 pitch, and that is popped up, way up, just a can of corn. Where does that phrase come from, can of corn? Palomar is camped under it and makes the catch, 1 away.
The sounds of baseball are something that I'm really drawn to, and one of the reasons why I really liked the podcast, or even when I first read about it, was drawn to it. I was like, this has baseball sounds in it. I'm in. It reminds me of being a kid up late at night listening to the radio when I was falling asleep. There's something about that no longer exists in the world. And so the fact that you've kind of created it in this almost bottled form feels really, I don't know. I feel like it feels really great that I'm very happy that it exists. But I'm curious what y'all's relationship is to baseball. Is it something that you watched, played, listened to? How did baseball intersect with your lives and become something that you ended up making art with?
I played baseball until about 6th grade and was just terrible. Maybe I have to be among the top 100 worst baseball players of all time. Maybe, but
no, I'm up there.
And then I sort of, once I got into like high school and stuff, I didn't care at all about baseball, not a bit. And then got back into it in my late 20s and became like super obsessed for like 4 years. I had a roommate who would listen to Cubs games on the radio, and I just became obsessed with that whole world.
Oh, my experience. Now, I had one of those dads that would, it's like, my son, my poor son, he needs to try to do things. And he would put me in things. I don't know. He would let me try different things. I will say it that way. That's more positive. He signed me up for Little League, and that was not something I wanted to do. I had a friend, Robert, that was going to do it. So somehow I got into that kind of thing. And I was afraid of the ball. So I really couldn't hit. And I wasn't going to catch the ball. So I probably wasn't a good fit for baseball. I do remember enjoying the smell of the glove. Maybe I shouldn't. That sounds weird.
Oh, no, that doesn't. I relate completely.
Okay. I still remember that. And the grass, fast forward, I love the sounds of it. And I live in the Minneapolis area, Twin Cities area. And I go to a Twins game, but it's just not. It's not the same thing. Like I like to go to the St. Paul Saints, not just because Bill Murray has 1% ownership or whatever, but so what Kings created here kind of brings up some of that sort of, is that called a minor league? I don't even know. I'm not a baseball guy, I'm sure, because they have all these other things going on. I mean, maybe not a goat running in the field or whatever, but I like the sounds and the smells and I don't necessarily enjoy the price, but you have a nice, $9-10 beer and you sit out there and watch that. It's a good time.
I love small town baseball as an experience much more than what I think of as arena baseball, more or less.
Yeah.
Big city baseball. I'm from New York. I'm a Mets fan. I go to Citi Field. It's a nice stadium and all, but there's these flashing lights and these billboards and these loud noises. And I used to, ride the train to Shea Stadium, and I see pictures of Shea Stadium now, and it looks like a relic of some bygone era, an empty outfield with these faded advertisements on the billboard, for these businesses that, some of them are gone, that existed on Long Island. And it's funny to think that I saw that place as a kid as this epic palace, right? And now it looks small compared to this arena style of environment that kind of exists in a lot of places. And I think there are probably still arenas and stadiums, maybe like the Coliseum in Oakland, that have that feel to them. And, certainly Wrigley and Fenway and places like that, places that have been around forever. But I really get it mostly if I catch a minor league game or some semi-pro game driving somewhere. It's usually on the road when you're between two places. That's when the baseball experience is the best.
I agree.
Have you gone to, Mr. King? I'm imagining there's a few leagues up there in that area.
Yeah. There's a team in Traverse City. There's a team in Grand Rapids. I went to I forget what their team is called, but I went to a minor league game in Kalamazoo, Michigan many years ago.
Yeah.
I think that's, I don't know. Very low minors, whatever. They were not good. And I'm in no position to judge, but that was not good baseball.
Was Darryl Strawberry on that team? I remember Darryl Strawberry was in our on the Saints for a while there.
That is true. And then he got called up from the Saints to the Yankees, or repurchased by the Yankees. That's right. I just read Slouching Toward Fargo, which is about the St. Paul Saints. Great book.
Wow.
Recommended.
Okay.
Recommended baseball book.
Do you do a lot of baseball reading?
Yeah, I feel like I've always got something on the list at the library.
Yeah.
I'm reading Bill Veck's Hustler's Handbook right now.
Okay.
Old school The first two chapters are awesome and general and timeless. And then the rest of it is like very specific stories about trades that happened in 1958 that aren't like big trades. So it's not, it's not a real page turner.
Does it help you sleep?
It probably could help me sleep. That's true. It's a good point. Touche.
I feel like there's a kinship there between your lens on it and his as well. He had a kind of point of view about the game where he cared about the experience of it and the sounds and the texture around it, which is sort of the material that you're weaving. I already mentioned how I was really drawn to this podcast and I love the sounds of baseball and I love the world that you've built. When I tell people about it, my friends or people that I play baseball with, and they go and listen to it, they also have this reaction of like, whoa, this is really cool. Like, I'm glad this exists. It's calming, right? Revisiting those sounds or transporting yourself into that environment. There's something about it that works as a sleep podcast. And I'm curious if either of you have any thoughts on why that is. Like, why are these sounds in particular, striking that kind of calm nerve, so to speak, and smoothing it out and letting people sort of feel a kind of settled inness that they enjoy and then brings on sleep.
I mean, I think that baseball on the radio has traditionally sort of been like that. There's a lot of space in there. There's less now than there was, certainly 20, 30, 40 years ago. But unless it's the playoffs or something, a baseball game on the radio is generally pretty low key. I actually thought when I first started doing this, like somebody has to be doing this already. There's no way in this weird world of every freak with a computer has his own thing. Somebody's doing this, but I didn't find one. So I was like, all right, I'll be the weirdo. And
you're the freak.
It's taking that sound of baseball on the radio and just smoothing it out, compressing it even more. So it's, there's never any yelling or hollering or cowbells.
I guess I kind of think of it as like the baseball radio is on AM. It's got to be AM and it's in somebody's garage and it might be your neighbor's garage. It might not even be your garage, but you can hear it. I think that's kind of what King's, in my interpretation, is what King's capturing there. That's my take.
Yeah, like someone nearby that you can kind of hear just out of reach.
But if you listen to it, there's other things there. There's a different level though too that people have talked about. If you do listen to it intentionally, if that's what I'm trying to say, there's quite a bit of things going on underneath the surface. So there's kind of two layers and you can kind of just take out of it what you want.
The 2-2 pitch. Chang gets a piece of it, but it looks like Palomar will have room and he makes the catch. And the Timbers go down in order. Another nice inning for Blinky Malone. At the end of the first half, we're scoreless here in Cadillac. Timbers nothing, Cars coming up.
Hello. You know me. This is Ed, Uncle Hat. The good folks over there at Big Tom's Shoe Repair and Gelato asked me to drop by and say a few words for them about their business. Big Tom's been in shoe repairs since he was knee-high to a locust, and his wife, whose name escapes me, has been in the gelato business for several days now. Why don't you stop by over there to Big Tom's Shoe Repair and Gelato and get your shoes repaired? If you're like me, you've put up quite a few miles in on those shoes. Why don't you get a nice cup of pistachio while you're there? And tell Big Tom that Ed Uncle Hat said hi and don't kick him. Thanks for listening.
Thank you, Mr. King and producer Phil, for coming on the show. Thanks for listening. You can find Northwoods Baseball Sleep Radio on Spotify and Apple Podcasts. I think you'll love it. Please subscribe or check out some of our other Sandlot Recommends episodes if you liked what you heard. You can also follow us on Instagram for new episode teasers and even more sounds of Sandlot. No matter how you do it, I hope you're finding rest and relaxation both on and off the ball field. Sweet dreams.
It's just an old lady voice doing an 1800 town and she was churning butter. That's harmless.
The stuff of nightmares.